midnight haze, chasing shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall, mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines, aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night, ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal for what we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
All right.
All right.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
How you doing, Jason?
Pretty good. How you?
I'm good. Most people won't know, but Jason's not in the studio with me tonight.
We can't touch each other now.
I'm sitting in Jason's seat, so I'm not used to his camera. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
I want to thank everybody for joining us and coming on, and we got a great show lined up tonight, right, David?
Yes. Yeah, we was on his show just a few weeks back, and now we're bringing him on, and he's got some good stories. I've been watching some of his stuff on his YouTube, and you know, he was talking to somebody that that I'd like to talk about a little bit. He was talking to a lady that you know, believes in vampires and talked about vampires and all that stuff, and she had a near-death experience and stuff like that. And hey, Susan. And
hey, buy me a Coke.
Pinch poke, you want me a Coke? Slap jack, you want me a six-pack? No. But yeah, and it was a pretty interesting conversation because she was talking about sanguine vampires and all the different stuff in the culture and stuff and stuff. So I'd like to know, you know, kind of what he thinks about that. So it'll be fun.
Well, I'll go ahead and introduce him. So Corky Derrick is the host and creator of the Paranormal War Room, a YouTube podcast dedicated to tackling the unexplained head on. So he created the show to serve as a headquarters for high-strangeness, where no topic is off the table and no theory is ignored. From cryptid legends and ghost encounters to UFO sightings, he sits down with fellow researchers, witnesses, and enthusiasts to dissect the strange realities that surround us. With a grounded approach and a genuine curiosity, he invites listeners to pull up a chair, face the unknown, and join the conversation about what really goes bump in the night. So we're going to bring him on, Mr. Corky Derrick.
Hey guys, what's going on? What's going on, guys?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight.
Yeah, well,
thank you for coming. Yeah,
thanks for coming on and everything, and sharing with us some of the stuff that you've talked about and some of your own experiences and stuff. Like I was just talking about, you know, I was watching where you had that lady on and she was talking about the vampires and all that stuff. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was Cy Marie. She was one of my first guests. She's out of California, and she's a real interesting lady. When I had her on for one show, and then as you know, after the show ended, we were talking a little bit, you know, how you do before you say your goodbyes and stuff like that. And she started telling me about some vampire stuff. And if you know anything about me or my wife, we love vampires. I mean, you know.
I got to stop you. What kind of vampires? Do you like sparkly vampires?
Well, look, I don't like no sparkly vampires, but
whoops. Hey, Jason, you better hide.
I know.
Jason likes sparkly vampires.
Me and my wife's favorite TV show was The Vampire Diaries. I mean, we're like huge fans.
Gotcha.
But they don't sparkle, I'll say that. You know what I'm saying?
I like the sparkly ones. I like Edward and Bella and all them. I watch them maybe once a week.
Well, you know, I'll watch a little Twilight here and there, but I'll spend my nights in Mystic Falls, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's funny.
You know,
yeah, when she told me that she had, when she told me that she had some vampire experiences, I said, whoa, I got to have you back on. So like the very next week she came back on, she was telling me about some trips she took to New Orleans and stuff like that. And God, man, she just blew my mind. And that episode skyrocketed. It's because obviously a lot of people love vampires, and
Yeah.
I'm searching now for another. I would love to talk to a real vampire. Let's put it that way. So that's what I'm on the hunt for right now as we speak.
I've done some deep dives because I was thinking it was last year, about the middle of last year, the same thing that you're thinking of right there is getting one on. But then you wonder, okay, so there's different types, right? You've got the sanguine, which is what she talks about, the real blood drinking vampires.
Yeah.
Then you've also got some that are energy vampire.
Yeah. Yeah.
The History Channel has done a bunch of different shows on it, and you could go onto YouTube and watch those. And I started taking people's names, and I've been trying to trace people down to try to see if I could get some of those people that were on the show, because that would be fun. It would be
Yeah, that's good.
Back in the 90s and the 2000s, Florida was covered up with people who thought they were vampires.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they had these cults. I remember reading about them and watching them on TV, the news and stuff. And they just, thought they was real vampires. They could be, you never know.
Yeah. She told me about a trip she went to New Orleans, and New Orleans is it's a bucket list place for me.
I've been there.
Yeah, I bet it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
But she was, there's a lot of lore, and just, with the voodoo culture, and that's like a mecca for vampires, or people that do that kind type of stuff. And she was telling me about the secret vampire speakeasy and stuff like that. That stuff just fascinates me. And she told me the story about the lady that come up to her and her brother and she said something along the lines of, he doesn't know what he's dealing with, or something like that. And she had to talk to the lady and tell her, no, he doesn't, but he's with me. And the lady seemed to have disappeared as they went out of the little bar they were in. So yeah, that stuff fascinates me, man. Just that whole culture, it just fascinates me.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting, right? It's the lure of, if it's real, are there actually people out there that not only the drinking of the blood part, but just that can have the possibility of being able to live forever.
Yeah.
And when it comes to things like that, we as mortals, or we have a time that is attached to us. At some point we will expire.
Yeah, and we've all got an expiration date. Yeah.
Exactly. I think we have a fascination with the fact of, what would I do with forever?
Yeah. It just fascinates me. That's one of my favorite subjects is, whether they're real or not, there are people that actually practice it, whether I don't know if they live forever, they're immortal, but they definitely practice it. So,
yeah,
it's something I like to study and look at from afar. And it ain't like I'm going to go, ask anybody if I can have a little sip of that blood or anything like that, but I'll definitely watch from afar and watch it on my TV though,
There you go.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Then you got the adrenochrome junkies too. Would you call that a vampire?
That's a whole nother episode right there. Right?
You better be careful, Jason. We're going to get X-nayed.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Just don't put it anywhere in the title or
this episode, this live feed will get cut real quick.
Oh man.
No apparent reason.
We have been X-nayed before for less, so
I guarantee it.
That's funny. So what got you into wanting to really liking to talk about paranormal and wanting to do a podcast about the paranormal?
Well, growing up, my mother was a big influence, on me when it comes to paranormal stuff. She got me watching horror movies and stuff like that at a young age. And we always would sit around and talk about ghost stories and stuff like that. And that was just some of my favorite time. Halloween is my favorite holiday. I'd love to sit around and talk about ghost stories and just, wonder, what happens after this life and stuff like that. But, I've just always been infatuated with paranormal. And growing up, once my kids got to a little older age, we would go to like Dollywood and stuff like that. And on that long drive home at night, I'd listen to Art Bell coming home.
Yes.
And, that's where I would love to, because sometimes he'd be on there talking about aliens, and the next call somebody would be like, "Hey, I'm a werewolf," he would always let everybody talk, and that's what I love about Art Bell.
Yes.
And I would sit there and I'd be like, man, I'd love to do that one of these days. You know, back then you couldn't just have a podcast. You had to have a big antenna and have a radio station. But, you know, with technology, anybody can get on here and do stuff like that now. So it's been one of my dreams to do for a long time. And my mother and Art Bell and, you know, stuff like that's what's got me into this. Just very curious, and it's a new hobby, a passionate hobby for me.
We love some Art Bell, don't we, David?
Yeah. Yeah. I started listening to Art Bell in 1998. And
Yeah, that's about the same time I do.
And I was working as a at Nestle, their corporate headquarters in Glendale, California. And I was a corporate I did their, well, I was one of the people that were there that did I was their second shift supervisor for their security team that they had. Place is huge, big 21-story high-rise building. And and so when I would go on my break, I'd go out to my car, turn on Art Bell, lean the seat back, and take me a nap.
Yeah.
And
that dude will calm you down, man. He's
yes,
he's a one of a kind voice, man. A one of a kind voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you know, he was a guy that the crazier the story, the more outlandish it could be, he wanted you on the show.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what people want to listen to, man. You know,
that's right. That's right. You know,
let me ask you this. What was your favorite episode that you listened to from Art Bell?
That's easy. The favorite, well, there's a lot. There's Mel's Hole.
But man, my favorites. Yep.
Yeah, Mel's Hole. Then there's Bucky. You know the Bucky story.
Yep.
Yeah, the Bucky story when he talks about he shot Bigfoot in Texas.
Yeah.
Yep. And
that's the one because
to it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I never put much credence into Bigfoot. You know, hey, I like to call myself a you know, like it could be real, it could not be real, you know.
Right.
But when you listen to that show, that dude, I can usually pick out somebody that's telling a lie pretty good.
Yep, the BS.
If that dude was lying about what he was telling Art, then he believed what he was saying 100%. I'll say that because that was an amazing story. But yeah.
I think that I also thought of what's the one, Jason, the guy that time traveled?
Madman Markham.
Madman Markham. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
That's another one, you know.
Yeah.
They still don't know where that dude's at, you know.
Yeah. That was a pretty amazing shows there.
Well, my favorite one was the guy, he had him on live. He was in an airplane. He was flying over Area 51.
Yes.
And he was telling them that something's opening up. And you know, he lost contact with him. That was a good show.
Yeah, you wonder if that stuff was real or if people were just messing with him. But you know,
he had a few like that. You know, he had one where a guy was being supposedly chased by like, you know, government agents because of some stuff that he knew, and he was sitting there just spilling the beans while he was on the phone.
Victor?
And I think maybe, and then it just went dead.
It was
and then
Victor.
Yeah, and didn't they actually cut Art's feed that night from the satellite and stuff like that?
Yep.
See, some things are just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence, in my opinion.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, we've had it on this show back when we were Project Dark Corona. And where I'm sitting right now, we are far away from any place where you ever hear any aircraft, especially helicopters and stuff like that. And we've had some podcasts in the past that were right on that borderline of being, are you really telling, do you have someone on that's telling something that the government really don't want you to know about?
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you would hear a helicopter and it would be so loud that it would come through the microphones.
Really?
And then the internet and the power to the house would just be poop. It's gone.
See that right there. That's what I'm talking about right there, man. Uncle Sam is watching us always.
Yes. Yeah. That's crazy.
Especially nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Well, 9/11 helped it out, though. I'll say that without.
Yeah. Look, I can go down a rabbit hole. I don't I don't know how far, you guys go down those type of things, but man, there's a lot about that stuff that's just weird.
We used to go down them pretty hard and heavy, but we got cut off of YouTube or Facebook.
We got shut down completely.
Everybody's that was associated with our account was gone.
All of our moderators, they closed their personal accounts.
Really? Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So tell us some stories you got. Some of your investigations or,
Well, I'll tell you the main story the most significant thing that's happened to me in the last 10 years is when me and my family moved into the house we live in now. I live in Sweetwater, and this house was built in 1864. And when we came to see the house, when you walked in, I knew right then. I was like, man, you know how when you walk into a place and you just get that heavy feeling and stuff like that.
Yes.
I knew right then, as soon as I walked into the house, I was like, yep, there's something going on here. There's just no way it's not. And but we love the house. It's beautiful, and it's something my wife wanted. So we got the house and we moved in, and immediately moving in here, everybody just started having real bad anxiety, and even my son, he started having some anger issues and stuff like that. Of course, at the time, he's a teenager, and you just chalk it up to just being a teenager and stuff like that. But you could tell, we would leave for the day and come home at night, but you could tell the closer we would get to the house, people would start getting ill, and we'd start fussing, we'd start fighting. And, some of the stuff that happened here, they could film a movie about it, because there were times that, like, you talk about possession, that, there's different levels of possession. Not everything's just Reagan spitting out pea soup and stuff like that. There's attachments that just make you make dumb decisions, make you do anything that's going to turn your life upside down. I can tell you for myself, for no apparent reason, I just walked out of my job one day, a very well paying job. And just for no apparent reason, I just said, well, you know what, I'm done, walked out. So, I put a financial hardship on us for no reason. There was one night coming home, like I said, as soon as we get close to the house, the tension would start. You could just feel it, me and my wife, we started having a little argument, to the point, she said, oh, you know what, just let me out. I'm going to walk on home. I said, I ain't going to let you get out of the car. So I stopped at the stop sign. She got out the car. Well, on the right side of the road, there's a big embankment, that goes down. And I kid you not, dude, she got out of the car. I turned my head one way and I turned my head the other way. She was gone. Gone. I stopped the car. I said, Lord, she fell down that hill, So I figured I'm going to get out the car and I'm going to have to go down there and drag her to the hospital because she's fell and broke her leg or something like that. But I looked down the hill and she's not there. So I said, wow. So looked around good, looked up the road behind me. She's gone, So I rode around the block. She's nowhere to be found. And, and we're about a football field from the house. And there's no way she could get out of my sight. It's just like she vanished in thin air. So I went around the block, couldn't find her. And I said, well, you know what? There's something happened. I can't find my wife. I said, I'm going to have to call the police, So I went home and our house was all dark, because nobody was at the house at the time. So I went home. I was going down the hallway and the house was just black as black. It was just a strange darkness, And I got to our bedroom, and in the dark, my wife was sitting on our bed staring at me.
Ooh.
It was the craziest thing. Yeah, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And, I laugh about it now, but at the time it was scary. And, I looked at her, I said, what are you doing? Yeah, I said, what are you doing? And she just looked at me, dude. And like I said, I'm not saying she was, Reagan pea soup, possessed, but there was something going on. And she has no recollection of how she got home that night.
Whoa.
And
Or how
can't
fast.
explain that to this day. Yeah, dude, it's like she lost time. It was probably a span of 10 minutes before I went home, but still, she had to walk a football field, and it ain't like it was just flat ground. It was down that big embankment through some woods. It was just, I still don't know how it happened. I cannot explain how she got home and got in the house and was sitting back there. First off, if she came home, we were all scared of this to death of this house. She wasn't going to sit in the dark. I can promise you that,
Right.
But it was like something off of a movie. She was sitting in back there in the dark. So that happened.
Oh.
One day we came home and we have a dining room. We went to the dining room, and it was like, and it's you're gonna think I'm lying right now, but I promise you I'm not. We went into the dining room. There was probably 500 or 600 flies on the window, just like you would see on the Amityville Horror. And I looked at my wife. I said, "Now, this is weird because it's a dead of winter time. There's usually not many flies out. This was in like November or January. In those few months there, and it's like something you'd see off of a TV show or a movie. That there were that many flies on that window, just in the dining room, nowhere else in the house, just in that one room. And
that's
so
crazy.
We ended up having to get a bunch of fly traps just to get them all out of there because they wouldn't leave. And when it all hit the fan, I was at work one day. And my wife called me and she said, "I don't know how to tell you this." She said, "But I'm in the upstairs bathroom and I'm stuck. I can't get out. I cannot leave this bathroom." I said, "What's going on?" She said, "I was in the bathroom cleaning it," because she worked from home at the time. And she said, "I started hearing, stuff walking in our son's room." And she said, and it wasn't like she was, locked in the room. She was frozen in fear in there. In other words, she had the door shut and she was in there cleaning, and she heard something stomping through the bedroom that's beside the bathroom. She was afraid to open the door because she didn't know what she's going to see when she opened the door.
Whoa.
So I told her at that point, I said, "Well, I can't come home right now." I said, "You're going to have to do something." And about that time, her brother called her, and she flipped back over to me. She said, "He's on his way here now." She said, "I'm going to get out of the house." So I said, "Well, call me as soon as you get out of the house." So I reckon she hung up the phone and just basically, because she had to go down the steps. She ran down the steps, went out in the front yard, and she waited out in the front yard till her brother and his wife got here. And they're very spiritual people, So they went to the coffee shop down the road, and she was telling them all what was going on. And my brother-in-law's wife, so she said, "Well, let's go home and let's bless the house, because they're real spiritual people." And my brother-in-law's wife didn't know anything about the house. It's the first time they'd ever been there. And they come back to the house. She starts praying over the house, going through for each room, praying and doing the stuff she's doing. The crazy thing about it was, she got up to my son's room where my wife heard all the sounds, went in his room, and just started taking her fist and just banging the closet just as hard as she can. And we had never told her anything about hearing the footsteps in that room. She just automatically went there and started praying and just, getting into a big prayer and just taking her fist and hitting the closet door and stuff like that. So it all came to a head one night when all the kids, because I got 3 kids, it came down, was all in the hallway, and because all of us were experiencing stuff, but we weren't telling each other about it,
Right.
other than the flies and the stuff that all happened to us all at once, and finally I said, "Are you guys experiencing stuff?" And at that point, my son was, 16, 17 years old. And I'm talking, he was an all-state linebacker, just broke down in tears, and he just said, "I don't understand why," but he said, "I'm so mad all the time. I don't understand why it's happening to me." And then my younger son told me some stories. My daughter told me stories. So we'd all had this stuff happening, but we just weren't telling each other about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, my bedroom we have a foyer where our steps is at. So my bedroom was on one side of the foyer, and then you had the steps, and then our living room is on the other side. And that night, my wife and my youngest son was in our bed asleep. My 2 other kids were in the living room asleep, and I was standing in between them, watching guard over them. And that's when I knew, I said, something's got to happen because we can't sleep in here now,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a Saturday night. We went to church the next day. My brother-in-law came up to me and he said, look, he said, I don't know what's going on. He said, but you're the man of the house. He said, you've got to take care of it. And he gave me some anointing oil. He said, you got to go in your house and you've got to wipe over top of every door with this anointing oil. And, you know, he said, you got to pray. He said there was something in the Bible about Jesus did that with blood or something like that. And, but anyhow, I done that. And since that day, you know, we've not had any real problems. There's still stuff happens, but nothing like, you know, happened when we first moved in, because, you know, I don't think every spirit or ghost out there, if you believe in that type of stuff, I don't think everything's a demon, but I think we had a demon in here. And I think we got rid of the demon that was in here.
Right. Well, you know, that story right there is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, coming from what Jason and I do all the time and stuff with paranormal investigations and stuff, and trying to help people in those kinds of situations, you know, what was right, what you did. The right part is that most people don't understand that it's intention.
Yeah. We talked about on the show.
Yeah, exactly. That intention, that is what gets the thing out of the house or away from you. So whatever that intention is, it could be a cross, it could be whatever. It's your belief that that is what it is that's going to do it, you know? Yeah. And so when you did what you did with the belief that that was going to end it, it did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it really did. Like I said, there's still stuff that happens. I told you guys I'd tell you this story. I was on another podcast and I was telling this story, same story on that podcast. And as I was telling that story, all my electronics started messing up. And I didn't understand why. And, you know, even during because this was a pre-recorded show, he said, well, we'll just keep going, you know, hopefully it'll all fix in the end. So I kept telling him about everything. And, you know, I've got my phone sitting beside me during, you know, just like I do now. It's obviously on silent, but, you know, as I was telling him about the house, the story of the house, moving into it and stuff like that, started having all these electrical problems, getting kicked out of the video or out of the studio and having to rejoin and all that stuff. And in our video feed lagging, started having all kinds of electrical interference. And finally we wrapped up the show. And at the end, you know, we're sitting there chatting before we, you know, log out. And I look at my phone and my wife had sent me a text probably about 10 minutes earlier. And the text said, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm starting to hear the footsteps in our son's room again. And I told him, I showed him my phone. I said, dude, she sent me this text message at about the same time we were having all the electronic problems during the show. So it seems like every time I start talking about it, stuff starts to happen again. So I'm hoping I don't kick up a little dust here tonight. You know what I'm saying?
No,
there you are.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, did I jump out of something?
No, I'm just joking.
Glitch out of the Matrix? No.
Here we go. Here we go.
Where did he go? No. You know, the thing is that when it comes to manifesting and stuff, and we've talked about this before, you know, when you talk about things, you can bring those things to you.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a risk in what it is that we all, you know, do with doing these kinds of shows, you know, but it doesn't hurt, because we do it here at the house all the time. At least once a month, we will go through and smudge the whole house.
Right.
And get anything out. And you mentioned it perfectly when you said, you know, that for some reason you were having these anger issues and these issues of just when you got closer to the house, just the smallest little things cause you to just go off for no reason that normally you would probably laugh about.
Yeah.
You know, when you start feeling these kinds of things coming on, it's time to go ahead and just smudge. It's time to go ahead and just clean the air, clear it out, because something is absolutely going on at that time.
Yeah, back then I didn't know anything about stuff like that.
Right.
But even since when you guys came on the show and you talked to me about having intentions and stuff like that,
Yes.
before I come in here and I sit down and do these interviews, I tell myself, look here, there ain't nothing going to happen. You're not allowed to do anything, and
Yes.
haven't had any problems since. But man, I tell you what, when we first moved into this house, and I go over the story real quick like that, but man, I tell you what, it was honestly like something out of a movie because like down in our basement there are piles of coal down there, and those piles of coal were where the slaves would feed that into the furnace. Also in our basement there is a bricked up room that you can't get into that was the slave quarters down there,
Oh,
Wow.
and
You
I
would
don't
come
even
down
know
there?
what I don't know what's in it. I'm not going down there and trying to get in it. You would have to knock the wall down again because it's been bricked up, but there's a room down there you can't get in, you know.
have you tried to do any kind of investigation down there?
Here's what I tell everybody since I still have to live here right now. I
Like,
promise
no.
everybody we will kick up some dust the day I move out. But while I'm still living here, we're going to have to coexist for a while,
Yeah. Well, you know what? That usually happens more than what you think. Coexisting with with entities.
Yeah.
I think it happens a lot more than people understand. And most people dismiss what happens to them. Oh, my keys, for some reason, I know I lay them here all the time, but for some
Yeah.
reason they're here.
Yeah.
Someone else just moved them, or I must have just set them down. Right? We want to dismiss these things. We don't want to admit them. But by doing that, we allow. It's like a kid when it does something wrong, and you don't say nothing. You laugh, ha ha ha. Oh, that kid's automatically going to be like, oh, well, that's okay. I can do it again, right? And so then it gets more and more and more and more that they start doing, right? And then sooner or later you're like, stop it. It's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Well, the kid, you laughed, you thought it was funny. Well, it's the same thing with spirits. I think is that, the more you allow to happen in your space and you don't take control of that space, then, you're complicit in what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what my brother-in-law told me. And he's actually the pastor of a Carthage Church of God it's going toward Nashville. But
Right.
yeah, that's exactly was his exact words. He said, "You're the man of the house.
Yep.
You have to take control of this."
Yep.
And funny that you mentioned kids. Another story because I get so much like my wife wrote down all this for me to have
Oh, that's
some
awesome.
notes to take. But in our dining room, that's the room where all the flies were at. And to this day, I've got two 70-pound boxers and a little chihuahua, like we were talking about before the show. But one of my boxers, my oldest dog, she will not go in that dining room for anything. And if she does go in there, she hides behind the door. And one day, and this is back when we first moved in, I had my niece and nephew over here, and at the time they were probably 2 and 3 years old. And these kids are so young, they didn't have any, they don't know what a ghost or anything like that is. But my nephew came running into the bathroom where my wife was at, and he said, "Hey," he was going, "I can't go in the dining room. I can't go in the dining room." She said, "Why?" He said, "There's kids in there." She said, "What do you mean there's kids in there?" And she would take him to the front to the door there, and he would look in there. He said, and both of them started going, "Ghost, ghost, kids, kids." And at that point, we took them on outside. We're gonna go play out in the yard at that time, But yeah, that was still when we were all in denial about it because I was like, that's just kids, they got them imaginations. They probably watch something on TV, but deep and down, you know what's going on. You just don't want to admit it,
You can feel it.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, I think you're more in tune with stuff like that.
Yep.
Just like me, I think I had a lot of experiences when I was younger, but I played it off and was told, no, it's your mind doing this and that. But then I know we told you the story about David's house when we went there, and that just kicked it off. I've been in it ever since.
Hey, it's all about being curious, man. Who doesn't want to know what happens, and
Right.
is there something else after this life? I mean, you know, a lot of people said, you know, you guys said something about it. You asked me, have you ever been called a devil worshiper or anything like that? And I said, you know, I'm sure not to my face, you know, but anybody, oh, that guy talks about ghosts and he talks about this, and, you know, he probably is into that stuff. Ain't nobody into the occult or nothing like that. I'm just curious about, you know, stuff that goes on that we don't know much about, you know.
Yeah. 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 You know, and that's the funny thing is it's never been to our face, but it's been, you know, those keyboard warriors, you know, on Facebook posts or
these computer screens have made people too tough these days, man. I tell you what.
That's a fact. You know, that's a fact. And the way I look at it is if you're ignorant enough to that's your stance on things.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's not even worth my rebuttal.
No, it ain't. Because people going to think how they want to think anyhow. It ain't no matter what you say.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my mind.
I mean,
I'm
a
going
lot
to
of
continue
people,
to have a good time no matter what they say. That's what I
yeah,
look at.
like you said, a lot of people just want to know what's after, you know, this body dies.
That's what I want to know. Who's not curious about that, you know?
I mean, tomorrow night we're going, and I'm not going to mention no names or where, but we're going to to this nurse contacted us. This lady's in hospice and she loves the paranormal. She wants to know everything about it. And they try to do things, you know, while they're in the hospice that they really want to do.
Right.
So tomorrow night we're going to go down and tell her some stories and have a good talk with her. And I think she's just curious.
Well, you know what? And if you're on hospice, I think you're probably ultra curious then, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good that you guys are doing that, man. That's awesome. That's a good thing you're doing there.
The first
anything to ease their minds, you know.
Yeah.
The first time that we helped someone, I was just blown away. Probably almost in tears.
Right.
It's just a good feeling that this person got, you know, got things straightened up a little bit. But it's an amazing feeling.
I guarantee it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, when people, you know, that lady had a problem. It was like 2 or 3 weeks that she hadn't even got to sleep because things were bothering her so bad.
Yeah.
And when we left, she was at ease. So
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, I don't think every case could be the same. You know, they're all different. And I'm sure you've heard it a lot, Corky. You know, when you go out and you investigate, sometimes you may get something. Sometimes you actually 9 times out of 10, you probably ain't gonna get nothing.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah.
And but it's that 1% or that you know, that when you do get stuff, and especially like Jason was saying in that lady's case, you know, this was what would you say? It was a 10-15 minute conversation.
Yeah.
With that entity. I mean like she was saying something and it was responding back to her conversation. I mean, actual conversation.
Yeah, you guys talked about that on my show. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. That if you could do stuff like that,
yes,
man, that would be awesome. Who wouldn't want to do that, you know?
Right. Yeah. And you know, it's not always going to be there. And you know, like you said, you know, when it comes to demons and stuff like that, because you know, it's easy to throw clickbaity titles out and get people to come, oh, you know, this happened and it's demons and all this stuff. Is it do things like that happen? Yes, absolutely. They do happen. And I think that what you talked about is a great case for that right there, right? But I don't think that just because you get slapped, smacked, pinched, poked, that it's a demon, right?
No, I don't think everything. I told you guys, you know, a lot of people, you've got two sets. They're either everything's a demon or they're not. I don't think everything's a demon. I really don't. I'm not saying there's not demons out there. There definitely is, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I think what was going on with your house is pretty freaking crazy.
I mean, this house definitely had a demonic, because even when, you know, you can look up pictures, the living room of this house used to be 100% bright red. The whole thing was red. And then on the wall, there was probably a 4 foot by 3 foot gold picture frame hanging on the wall with no picture in it. Just a frame hanging on the wall on this red wall, a gold picture frame that's probably 4 foot, long and 3 foot wide. Craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, man.
That's
And you can go in we call it, what's where we got all of her, my wife keeps all of her books. She's a big book girl. And, but there's a fireplace in that room. And on that fireplace, there is a devil head on top of the fireplace. That little metal thing that goes around the fire. I guess you know what I'm talking about. There's actually it looks like a demon head right there. I'll take a picture of it, show it to you guys.
That's interesting.
You're talking about demons. I mean, like y'all said, everything's not a demon. I think some of these, an explanation could be a demon. The definition is something that's never walked in a human form.
Right. Inhuman,
yeah. So I think it could be from like another dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. I mean, that's just what I think. Could be dimensional. It could be, I don't know if it's really spiritual, but it's just something that, go ahead.
No, I'm with you 1000%. I try to think of things outside of the scope of religion.
Yeah.
Because religion is man-made. All religions are man-made. It's a man-made invention. So I try to think outside of religion itself. But I know what science tells us, right? Science says that we do have other dimensions. And they say we have at least 10.
Right.
Or 11. But they say if we have that, then the possibility of them being infinite are very possible. Right. And so one thing that we know for ourselves, a higher dimensional creature we cannot see, taste, touch, even know its presence is there, really, unless it wants us to know its presence is there.
Mm-hmm.
Because us being the creatures we are, when we interact with lower dimensional creatures than us, it's the same way. Right.
Yeah.
So we know this for a fact. So a hypothesis that we have kicked around for a while, Jason and I, is the fact that a lot of these entities, I think, very well could be, you name the dimension above us, right? 10th dimension parasite.
The upside down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a parasite. Just like any other parasite. But what does this parasite feed on? Fear.
Yeah.
It feeds on anger. It feeds on all of these things. And what does that want out of you? It creates that in you so it can have something to feed on.
Exactly.
So and we as humans like to place names on things, right? We call it demon. We call it this. We call it that. I think irregardless of what it is, that label we decide to put on it, I think that the probability of it being that is higher than the probability of it being something else. And that's just a thought.
I agree 100%. Because why else would it invoke those emotions in my family, because it was
feeding off of it.
It had to be. And even to the point with me, when I walked out of my job that day, and it was right before Christmas. We moved in here in November. It was right before Christmas. And I remember I went home and I was like, yeah, I make my own decisions. I'm the man of, I run my own life. And my wife looked at me and she goes, okay. She said, but are we going to be okay? And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So it all worked out. The Lord took care of us. Yes. But it was definitely, that was a decision that I'm not going to do that because I've got 3 kids to support. I'm not going to walk off my job unless I got another job to go to. And I did though. It really, shook me up because I had never done something boneheaded like that before.
Right.
And it sure did. And that's the only thing I can attribute to was, making stupid decisions like that. and all the stuff my wife went through. My son had all these anger problems, so yeah, it was feeding off of us,
Yeah.
and yeah, we had
And
to.
I think of those entities like a tick on a dog. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a parasite.
yeah,
Either way, whatever name we decide to put on them,
yeah.
they're parasites in their basic form and function. They're just
Mhm.
parasites.
Yep, I'd
And
much rather deal with a vampire than what we dealt with when we moved in here that time.
yeah, because it's at least something you could see, feel, taste, touch, right? It's
Yeah,
something that you could interact with, even if it's oh heck, right?
yeah, yeah.
But when it's something that can attach and create these things in you for
Mhm.
it to feed off of those emotions, it gives you a hopeless feeling. And I think that's another thing that it feeds off of, right? It
That's a good way that you just said that. It hopeless. For the first 2 months we lived here, it was kinda hopeless, man. It
yeah,
really was.
yeah.
But,
Well, see,
you
in
had to
order
square
to
up and go to war with it yourself, though.
yes,
That's what we
sir.
had to do.
Yeah, and I think that's how it plays its game, is that it gets you to feeling hopeless, like there's nothing you can do, and then it's able to finish it starts really attacking you, and then that fear, that those raw emotions, that's what it wants, but
Wow,
it's got to get you into a hopeless state first.
you just described it, man. That's a good job. Good job there, David. You put it into better words I could put it in there, man. You wasn't even here.
Well, I mean, but you described it in a way to
Yeah,
where I could feel what it was that you was trying to convey, you know,
yeah.
and so yeah, that's amazing.
Oh,
That's amazing.
I'm looking over my wife's notes she gave me before there. There was also a night my wife started having night terrors during the whole thing too. I remember I'd
Oh,
wake up beside her and she would be tossing and turning, in her sleep, and she would be, her mouth would be closed, but she'd be trying to speak. Now remember, I'd have to roll over and I'd have to shake her and wake her up. But there was a night she had a dream of a tall man with a hat. Now I think we've all probably heard of that
oh
guy,
yeah, Hat
but
Man.
he was looking over her in the bed, and he was basically, I guess, he was trying to choke her. And the next morning, uh, my wife found out that my daughter had dreamed that she was falling from the sky at the same time she was having that experience with this tall man. So that was another situation that was just
Yeah.
real crazy. And those night terrors. See, I forgot all about that until I was looking at my wife's notes here, but yeah, she'd done that for a while. She would just be thrashing in her sleep, and she would be trying to say something, but her mouth wouldn't open because she was asleep or something wouldn't allow her to open her mouth. But yeah, I would have to shake her and wake her up and bring her out of it. It was the craziest thing, dude.
Wow.
You see this stuff on TV, but it really happened here. It really did.
Yeah, see, that's pretty amazing. Now, I have a couple questions to ask you. So,
Yeah.
hello, Barbara, and everybody else, Travis, and everybody else that's here, Stephen. Um, and if you haven't said hi, please say hi to us in there so we could say hi to you. But you know, when you were looking at homes and you decided this is the one, this house,
Hmm.
did you have the feeling like it picked you or you picked it?
We stumbled upon it. This was one of those things. It may be. I never thought about it. One thing about us is the house we had lived in before this house, we'd lived there for 14 years, and it was a very tiny house. It was our first home. And when we was like, all right, man, we want to upgrade. We need a bigger home. So all of a sudden we find this glorious place. And I'm not gonna lie, this house is huge. It's almost 5,000 square feet. It's
Woo.
got 7 bedrooms in it. It's huge. But of course, that comes with a price. I knew when we walked in here, and I said, "There's just it's too good to be true."
Right.
And like I said, it's an old house. Was built in 1864. Uh,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and but yeah, I knew coming in here that obviously everybody wanted it because it was so big, because we had been used to living in this real tiny house. So yeah, when I come in, I kind of knew we were gonna get the home, but I also knew what I felt when I walked in, and I'm telling you, it was like walking into a pressure just pushing you down as you come in. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's
Oppression.
Yeah, I had found out there had been people here painting the house, inside of the house, before we got the home, and a couple of those guys had quit for no apparent reason. You know, found out all that stuff, after the fact. But yeah, it was a crazy situation.
Yeah, I think Steven's right. It could not only be the home, but the land calling you.
Yeah, because you think about it, man. This house is almost 200 years old. Just think about the stories these walls could tell
Yes,
in this house.
absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
even this past Christmas, and like I said, everything's fine here now. If something happens here now, we're just gonna have to duke it out because we all gonna have to live here and live together.
That's it.
But
Coexist.
we were in the living room having Christmas, and we were thinking, how many Christmases have happened in this living room right here, and you can look, and there's places on the floor that could have been blood. There's dark spots on the hardwood floors. It may not be blood. It might have been where water was leaking on it at some point. I don't know, but you think, man, what caused that stain on the floor there?
Mhm.
It's just there's a lot of, and the weird thing about it is we went and started, trying to find about some history of the home, and you can't find anything anywhere about this house.
Do
It's
you
crazy.
have a local historic department?
Yeah, we went there. We went to the local library. The historian place is at the library here, and yeah, you can't find. We can find out, who the past couple owners are, but that's about it. There's no history. One thing happened one time. My wife was outside, and a police officer. I forget what the police officer. They were doing something around the neighborhood here, and he was talking to my wife, and he said, "Oh, you live in the old hospital house?" And then she said, "What?" And he said, "Oh, no, never mind." And he actually did not say anything else. So I don't know if this place used to be maybe a Civil War hospital or something
That's what I was
like
about
that.
to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't find out anything about it. I don't know.
But one of these days, you'll
One of
need
these days we're gonna get in that room in the basement. I'll tell you that. I'll have you guys up here.
we'll
And
bring the
I
spirit
promise
box.
you, we'll be loading the couch on the truck as we're doing it.
We'll bring the spirit box, and you'll find out a lot of stuff. Steven
Corky
asks,
Derrick.
"Do you live in the area of the same school we went to?"
No, I live in Sweetwater, bro. Stephen Watson.
Sweetwater's got some nice big old houses down
Yeah,
that
a
one
bunch of
road.
old houses. Yeah, there's old houses.
Is that the road you live on in town?
Yeah, we live it right in town. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close to town. Anyhow, I don't want to give my my address away. Some of these
Yeah.
guys want to come ghost hunting my front yard.
You know what's crazy is that this is live, so we can't edit it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Let's,
hip to this game.
let's switch around a little bit and let's talk about this Bigfoot file you sent us here.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about a little Bigfoot, man. That's one thing when I started doing this paranormal show that kind of flipped me out, because I've always been the ghost guy. I want to talk about ghosts and stuff with people, but I tell you what, everybody wants to talk about Bigfoot, so I've just had to accept it. And the more I talk to people and the more I look into it, I'm kind of like, well, you know what? There might be a Bigfoot out there. Whatever it may be, there may be something out there.
I've seen one
Really?
with my own two eyeballs.
I'll tell you what, man. I've
It'll
heard a
make
lot of
a believer
stories.
out of you.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Yeah,
It will 100% make a believer out of you.
I guarantee it.
So, what this file that you gave us to listen to?
Yeah, that was a buddy I work with. Of course, now everybody brings me, if they go out into the woods and they find Bigfoot or something happens, everybody, since I've started doing the show, everybody wants to come and bring me everything. So, but he brought me about a 32-minute recording he had done up at Buckball, Tennessee. And he said, man, just take this home. He goes, we was hearing stuff all over the place. And this is one of the clips that I got that he gave me. And I think it's interesting.
Well, let's play it.
Jason?
Let's play it here.
That's crazy, man.
That's pretty wild. I don't know.
You can tell the whoop he's doing, then you can hear that's not him doing that right back at him.
What's funny to me is that last part where it made those multiple.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like a monkey, didn't it, or something like that? I don't know what that is.
Almost like he was at a zoo and was in the great ape, like a chimpanzee or something. But it's almost a cross between the whoops that you are used to hearing, but almost that samurai chatter that you've heard too, and so it's like that's pretty interesting. That's almost like it's trying to talk.
See, I've not heard about the samurai chatter. You're gonna have to fill me in on that.
Oh,
Because I started to cut that last part out of that recording, but I thought, no, that sounds weird. I'm gonna leave it in there.
Yes, I'm glad you didn't.
let's listen to it again.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's interesting. That's just crazy.
That is.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Terry's not the type of guy that I can promise you that's legit. This guy is he gets off work and he goes and spends his weekends in the mountains. He's just a guy that he's infatuated with just staying up and going camping in the mountains. And he started hearing that stuff, and of course he's watched these Bigfoot shows and stuff like that. So he just started recording and yelling back at it, and it started yelling back at him. So it was pretty cool.
That's interesting. Hey Nathan, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I think so have you ever listened to like old dubbed movies and stuff and the samurais, how they
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of what they talk about, or how they talk. Not making fun of anybody.
Hey,
respect all the ninjas out there, man. Nothing but
Exactly,
respect.
exactly.
you want to fight?
You want to fight?
Fight me. Hold on.
But no. So they have had recordings in the past that have heard multiple, at least two, talking to each other like that.
Really? That's awesome.
In the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. I tell you, like I was telling you guys before we started the show, I've got 32 minutes of what he recorded left to go over. If you guys want to take a listen for it, see if you can find anything in it too, I'll pass it on to you guys too. You guys can check it out, because a lot of times see that samurai sound you're talking about, I didn't know that was a thing that existed. So you guys could hear something in it that I don't hear. So if you guys want, I'll pass that along to you and you can just do what you want to do with it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll email it to you guys after the show.
Steven said there's a story of a possible Bigfoot help a kid while he was lost in that area. So it was very similar to the other state where a kid was lost and was kept warm by a bear.
Sure, boy, that's lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky he wasn't made a snack by that bear, boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's funny about the Bigfoot. Have you guys ever heard of the infrasound? This is another thing. This is another thing that, as I've been talking to these Bigfoot investigators, I learned about the infrasound. And then I was thinking, when I was 13 or 14 years old, I lived out in the Knobs in Madisonville. And my stepdad at the time, he called me, he said, "Hey, come out here on the porch." And I thought at the time he called me to come out on the porch, I thought, man, that's crazy. Because, we wasn't like that. We didn't hang out, So I didn't. So I was like, well, I said, all right, what do you want? So he said, come out here and just listen to this. And I walked it on the porch. And if you can picture it, looking out over a big cow pasture, and to the left would be what I would call knobs, not really mountains, but they're just like rolling knobs. And back in those knobs, there was an abandoned railroad that cut through those things. And I said, okay, so this was about dusk. And at that time, I heard a sound. I can't even explain to you the sound it was. But that sound, it hit me in the chest. And I'm not exaggerating. Mm-hmm. And it knocked me down. It knocked me down. And I got up and I ran into the house. And I didn't come out of the house the rest of the night. Now, back then, I thought, well, I just heard a cow or something, yelling at me, and it scared me. That's all I thought it ever was. But then I was talking to some guys, and they were telling me about the infrasound, and I got to think, I was like, man, is that what I heard that night? Because you can hear a sound, and it'll scare you, but it felt like something punched me in the chest and knocked me down that night. So I'm thinking, maybe I got hit by it. I don't know, because he obviously had heard something and he wanted me to come out and hear it too. But he never did tell me what it was that he heard. But I tell you what, I remember it feeling like something hit me in the chest. So, I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know.
That's amazing, because that's what that infrasound usually does. And depending on the frequency of that infrasound, that fight or flight is the first thing that it does.
Yeah. And I got real sick that night. I got real sick, and I was sick plumbing to the next day, but I just took it as I heard something that scared me. But now that I've learned, maybe I got hit by that infrasound. I don't know, but it was definitely, we lived in an area that you would think there would be some big feet running around. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Hey, I'll tell you, when it comes to it, what's interesting to me is to watch someone like yourself that's just starting to come into this stuff and watch the beginning process of where you are and then how things change over time. Because I'll tell you, I remember a long time ago, I was like, oh yeah, there's feet print, there's, they've got DNA. I mean, they've got it several times. There's been so many DNA projects, and they've got DNA multiple times. It has been sequenced.
According to this lady in Madisonville, she's got proof.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can.
David Politis was part of one that got a lot of evidence, and there's been many projects that's been done. The thing that's funny to me though is that to watch this process, because you'll see people go from the beginning where they're like, I could see maybe, to, okay, yeah, you know what? There's been so many people talk to me about it. So many people that's had these experiences and everything. There's got to be something, right? There's Bigfoot footprints they're finding all these different things. So it's got to be there, right? And then, then all of a sudden, somehow most of us, not all of us, but most of us take a severe right-hand turn. And now all of a sudden it's more than just a flesh, blood creature, because this thing must be interdimensional or something. Because when you start listening to all the stories, not just the ones that they want you to hear, these things are able to do things other than just infrasound. Somehow they're able to almost cloak themselves.
Exactly.
They're able to walk into a middle of a field and all of a sudden just disappear because the footprints stop.
Exactly.
Where did they go?
I can't explain that. I can't explain that.
Yes. Well, and then Native Americans,
everybody's got a Bigfoot. Yeah.
Thousands of years they have not only talked about a Bigfoot, but almost every single culture also says that they walk in both worlds. They're not only flesh and blood, but they are also a spiritual being, that they walk in both worlds. And so you have to kind of start thinking, what's the validity to this?
Well, how it was put to me, I've interviewed a guy, and I always ask the question, what makes you think this stuff's real? What's the evidence that you've got that really makes you think that it's real? And the best answer I've ever got for that, he said, basically, not everybody's lying. You have thousands of eyewitnesses, and I'm sorry, not everybody's lying about it. You may have some people that are out there lying, but everybody's not lying about it. So
no.
So I don't know. I like to call myself a skeptical believer in Bigfoot, but it's because, hey, I've never seen him, but I'm not going to say he's not real, Now,
if you're lucky enough to be one of the ones who have actually seen it, then something also clicks. You're from, they've got evidence that I believe it's real, but then you believe it's real, then you see it, it's real.
Right.
And,
and
David's lucky. I've never seen one.
I've crossed over into that. And I'll say that it was my past profession as being an over the road truck driver.
Yeah.
That helped me with that, because my sighting was a sighting as a roadside sighting. And so, I was in Washington. The wife and I used to team drive, and we had just switched. So she went back to the bunk and was sleeping. I'm driving I-90 going west, going towards Seattle, and we're in Washington, and we haven't made it to Snoqualmie yet. So, I mean, we're not even, close to there yet, but I don't remember exactly where we were, but when it gets late, it was about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. I think it's closer to 11, but when it gets late at night on I-90, place becomes a ghost town. I mean, there's hardly anybody there. Big trucks are not, I mean, it's just a ghost town. And what was crazy about it was that about 4 car lengths ahead, there was a slight fog bank, right? So you could see about 4 cars up. If there's a car that was about 4 cars up, you'd see their headlights. You just wouldn't be able to make out what kind of car it was.
Right. And
so I'm driving along, just doing what I do, probably listening to some podcast about, Bigfoot or something, to be honest with you.
Little Art Bell.
Yeah. And so I was sitting there just doing that, just driving like I always did. Cause I drove nights. My wife drove days. And so I was just driving along, and out of the corner of my eye, now on I-90, there's places where it's like going into Knoxville, right? The interstates are all together. There's just, there's nothing really separating them but a wall, right? But then when you get out of the cities, they're pretty well separated. It's kind of like going up towards Crossville and stuff, where you can't hardly really even see the other side because of the trees and everything in between. And that's where I was at. I was out there just cruising, and all of a sudden out of the left side, I see something start stepping across the road, and I look, and it was right at that about 4-foot car length away.
Mm-hmm.
And he stepped across the road, and he went across the road and back up the mountain on the other side. And he did it so fast that me doing like 65 miles an hour, if I'm not mistaken, that's about the speed limit down through there, but 65 miles an hour, I didn't even come close to him.
Wow.
Not even close. And he was so massive that I know I could have pulled over, rolled down my window, and had a face-to-face conversation with him.
Wow.
And, yeah.
That is, I don't know what I'd do if I ever come across something like that. I'd probably keep driving. That's probably what I'd do.
I'll tell you what was funny is that I probably drove for 20 minutes, easily drove for 20 minutes, reconciling what it was I just saw in my head.
I guarantee it.
Before I reached out to a good friend of ours, Matt Sieber, East Tennessee Bigfoot. He has some awesome stories. That's a guy you definitely want to get on your podcast, Corky.
Okay.
Matt Sieber, East Tennessee Bigfoot.
I'm gonna write that down.
He was our first guest ever in 2012 when we started doing this stuff. Our first guest ever, and we've been great friends ever since. And he's a really good dude.
He didn't know if we were going to kill him because he came in studio.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't know. Yeah, he didn't know what we were going to do.
He called his wife and said, "Hey, this is where I'm at. So if you never hear from me again."
Hey, you can't be too careful these days, guys. You never know, man. You really don't.
He just wrote a book, and that was a little section in it, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was
fantastic. But I texted him, and I was like, "Man, I was at this mile marker at this time. You know what? I'm going to have to ask him at some point if he still has that, because that would be proof of exactly where I was on I-90 when it happened."
Right.
But and like I said, it was 11 o'clock. So it would have been 12, 1, about 2 o'clock here in Tennessee, where we live here in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he texts me back like 10 minutes later. Congratulations.
But you're now in the club.
That's it. You know,
Yeah.
it was, but it was an amazing experience. It was amazing.
Yeah. It would be amazing, but I think I'd probably, well, you know, I don't know if that would scare me or not. You'd probably be like, what did I just see? You know?
Yes.
That'd be crazy. It would
It
be.
took
That'd be
20
crazy.
minutes to reconcile. Did I just see what I
Am
saw?
I crazy or was I asleep when I was driving? Who knows?
That's right. Yeah. Did I nod off just for a minute?
I guarantee it. That's awesome, man. You know?
Yeah. It was fun.
Well, Corky, we've been on a little over an hour.
Oh, has it been an hour already, man? I've been having a good time on here tonight. I like this. I like these lives. I'm gonna have to try it myself one of these days.
Try it, man. There's nothing better than lives are so fun, especially when you have an audience that starts, interacting with you while you're doing it. You're just like get into it. You'll have to do a Saturday show with us sometime if you can.
Absolutely, I've had a great time tonight. I'll come on anytime.
Yeah,
we do a 2-hour show.
Then.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, our 2-hour shows on Saturdays, and we just keep on going. We used to do 3-hour shows, but
really, yeah. Hey, man, that'd be fun. I love it, man.
That third hour got a little wild though.
Sometimes we would, we would be a slur just a little bit.
Yeah, that's when you start talking about the Nephilim and stuff like that. It's hour 3.
Let me tell you this story, then I'll let you talk about what you got going on and everything. But this story we were in our 3rd hour, and I decided that the show was going to be about the other god, women.
The other god.
Yeah,
and we got his wife on.
Oh yeah, I call my wife in here. We'll get down, son.
It was pretty wild. We deleted it.
Yeah, we deleted it. Yeah, we was like, oh no, click delete.
Yeah.
What were we talking? What were we even saying?
I don't even remember. But that was our younger days.
Yeah,
that's been how many years ago?
2012. So I mean, you're talking freaking 13 years ago.
13, 14 years ago.
Wow, you guys been at it a long time. I've just been at it about a year and a half. You guys been at it a long time, man.
Hey, our first board, if we ever make it big, I'm gonna get it put up on the wall, because our first board, like I said, it's still over here in the closet. It's a Radio Shack board. And that's our first board we ever had was from Radio Shack.
That's all. Just the fact that it says Radio Shack is awesome. That sucker's worth money now just because it says Radio Shack on it. That's great.
It had one stereo mic input and one mono mic input.
God, that sounds like that board I've been using, man. That sucker was, when you guys done my show, I just want to apologize for my audio. It was crap.
It didn't sound bad.
Thank God I run it through audio software before I post it. And that fixes a lot of it, man. But it was bad.
You should have seen the computer we was using.
Yeah,
14 years ago.
It was one of them Optilex, maybe.
Yeah,
Dell Optilex with a Was it VGA? Did we have VGA monitor?
It was a VGA monitor.
Yeah. Wow, that is old school right there, son.
Yeah.
That's awesome though,
we
man.
Had cords running everywhere.
When we first started, we started on, what was the name of that program, Jason? It was on our phones. Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio. And everything was on the phone. There was no computer or nothing like that. So we would set the phone in between us and just talk.
Wow.
And
hey, man, you do it how you got to do it, man. That's awesome.
Well, Corky, you want to give out your information and what all you got coming up? And
you can find me on YouTube and Spotify. I don't really post anywhere else right now, but it's the Paranormal War Room. If anybody wants to come on the show and just tell about any type of adventure you've had out there, I'd love to have a conversation with you, especially if you're a vampire. I want to talk to a vampire.
Yes.
I would love to talk to a vampire, and I would love to talk to somebody that's been abducted by aliens, man. So, hey, holla, it's a safe spot. We'll have a good conversation. You can email me at paranormalwarroom@gmail.com. And you can find the show on YouTube and Spotify. I also do another podcast called Remember That. Me and a bunch of my buddies, we get together every week and we just review horror movies. And yeah, check us out on YouTube with that. I'm also on Facebook. I got a group page on there called the Paranormal War Room. Go over there and join that. We're always on there talking about Bigfoot or ghost or something like that. We have a good time on there. And I always send links to the shows and stuff like that on there. So yeah, man, just look me up, man, and follow me and take a ride with me, man. We have a good time. I appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight. I've had a blast.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you. We've had fun.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna call you back on because
Hey, anytime you guys just let me know.
Did have a good time. I like the conversation that we had.
No, that's
just bull crapping.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Yeah.
It's Southerners talking to Southerners. So we can talk to each other like that. You know, we can carry that conversation. It's harder, you know, without putting people down. It's harder sometimes.
Listen, I know what you're talking about. On the other podcast I do with Remember That, there's an Australian show called Remember That, and they actually emailed us. It's probably been 3 or 4 weeks ago now. They was like, "Hey, you guys want to do a show with us because we got the same name or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah." And you talking about with my big redneck butt on there talking, and then to hear these people from Australia, there's like, "You mean your name's Corky?" I'm like, "Yeah, my name is Corky." But it was a fun episode because they loved my accent as much as I loved their accent. It was great. It was fun to do, man.
Yeah,
it really was.
That's amazing.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, anytime, man. Anytime. Just let me know. I've had a blast tonight. This was fun.
Travis says he knows a vampire, but she didn't suck blood.
hey, Travis, that's for another show right there, buddy. You feel me?
That used to be our 3rd hour shows there.
Yeah. Yeah, let us get in hour 3, then we'll start talking about that type of vampire.
Travis.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
All right, Corky, we're gonna close her out, and we appreciate you coming on.
All right, I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Wow, that's a great guest.
Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Yeah,
like I said, you know, we're now 17 minutes over what we normally do on our Thursdays, but I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation because we sure did. Yes. And please go and join his Facebook page and his YouTube and everything and follow him because he's fun. And I've watched a lot of his shows and they're really good shows. So really informative.
It's paranormal.
That's right. You could tell he's interested in it because he asks questions, you know, of these people and like, hey, you know, like what I was talking about earlier when he had that lady on and she was talking about the vampires and stuff. He was like, okay, I don't know much about them, but man, I like vampires and I want to know more, you know? And so it was good to watch somebody.
So he did say he watched some, the sparkly ones too. I mean, those are my favorite.
He said he watched them.
He said he watched Twilight. I like the sparkly ones.
Yeah. I ain't got nothing to say, but you know, I'm more of an Interview with the Vampire kind of guy or something, you know,
Blade
or Nosferatu. Blade is okay. Yeah. You know,
Team Damon. Oh Lord. I've been watching a great show here recently. It's Teen Wolf. It's a series.
I've seen it. I've never started watching it though.
It's good.
Is it?
Yeah. A lot of supernatural stuff.
The only problem I have with some of those is that they're so high school drama oriented stuff because it's all teenagers that
there's a lot of school dances and lacrosse playing in it, but it's pretty good.
And
anyway,
I like Joni because she's dating Bobby because she liked Bobby. You know, it's all that teen drama stuff.
So Saturday at 8 p.m. we got a show with Natalie Smearman.
Oh yeah, and you know she's with Greg Ogles and
Relic Films.
She and they got back not too long ago from the Land Between the Lakes. They have some amazing stories of the Bigfoot that they actually encountered there. and some of the other stuff. So I think it's going to be a fun conversation to have and stuff with her. So yeah, I really look forward to it. Then in January 31st, we're going to be in Alabama, aren't we, Jason?
Gardendale, Alabama.
Yeah.
For the Vanished premiere. Greg Ogles and Relic Films, along with Natalie Smearman and Adam Davies. They're all in the film. Martin Groves. We're going to be down there with watching their premiere of The Vanished.
Yeah.
They're going to have a great time. Yeah, it's going to be an all-day event.
And I've got an extra ticket if someone wants it. My wife cannot make it, so let me know. Said I've got an extra ticket. From here, it's 4 hours. So if you live in this area, it's 4-hour drive down. And it's a kind of an all-day event. They've got all kinds of things that's going to happen before the show, or before the premiere. So it'd be a fun time.
Yep. All right. You going to take us out, David, with your spiel?
I can, if you really want me to. No, just kidding. Yep. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight and being part of the show. I want to thank Corky for being part of the show because it was a really great conversation. I remember you can access paranormal411.org, Paranormal 411 on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Tune in live every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, from Saturdays 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. We're also on Subspace Radio and all major podcast platforms. Now, we do have a few books out. East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2, A Comprehensive Guide to Paranormal Investigations, and The Haunted Ledger are all available on Amazon, or you can go to our website at paranormal411.org. Join us.
All right. We'll see you guys Saturday.
Have a good night.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.